Jon Anik and Kenny Florian podcast. Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
I love them. I can't get enough of them.
Let's hear that Boston next.
Big jab there from Duffy, and Frank Mir is hurt now. Down goes Duffy, out cold. Frank Mir does it again. Rock'em sock'em robots here. Oh my goodness.
Hyperbole. There are a couple of absolutely self-involved bullshit artists.
Here are your hosts, Jon Anik and Kenny Florian.
Next shot.
I mean, should we do it live, kid? I think we should fucking do it live. Why not do it live on a Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, episode 487 of the Anik and Florian podcast. KenFlo, great to see you.
Great to see you as well, man. Back on the Beast Coast. We ready to rock.
A lot of seminars and retreats. As I understand it, there was no darkness, but maybe some desert. Care to share to these people so close in your life, our viewers and listeners, what exactly you've been doing over the last 6 days or so, or no?
Yeah, dude. I was in LA. I was doing some seminars, visiting some old friends, some old students. So that was fun. Went out to Joshua Tree for what, like 2 days, something like that. That was a lot of fun, hanging in the desert. Just such a interesting, cool place. And what, back a couple nights ago. So great to see the family again, and recharged, ready to rock, dude.
Recharged, reunited with the children. That's always great. So were these like pistol weapon type seminars or Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
So just jiu-jitsu and MMA type seminars. No pistol stuff this time around. But
right.
Maybe next time.
Just trying to get complete clarity off the top today, but great to have everybody joining us live as opposed to live to tape. I'm not sure if this is some sort of podcast initiative, but I like to go live whenever we can, try to get this content out to you folks as soon as humanly possible, especially because we couldn't be here on Monday because KenFlo was doing his Aaron Rodgers, Yuri Prohaska retreat. I was playing pickleball like 6 of the last 7 days. And I don't know the extent to which it's some great workout. It's a better workout than golf. It was very hot in South Florida yesterday, and I completely gassed and ended up tying my twin brother, against whom I'm very competitive.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, I think on social media it played out like a loss.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was. I was like, wait, what's going on?
Well, I'm up 2-1. You know, I don't know that is sort of the sun almost takes you off the court in a 7-game series, right? Yeah, Cody says a tie is a loss. But no, I mean, nobody cares about this, but I'm up 2-1 on the day, and we're playing in game 4, and I'm up 10-6. And dude, I had nothing, bro. Just nothing left. I don't know what else to tell you, but
I'm serious. I want a live rematch. Like, I need someone to film this, and it needs to be for something. Like, I don't know.
All right. Well, he's we could probably make that happen. I mean, we were thinking some sort of charitable endeavor. He's going to be here at some point in time to crash the studio and probably talk a bunch of shit. But we got Laura Sanko coming up, by the way, in 12 minutes. I should probably hit my applause thing right there. Ray Longo thereafter. We have a lot to get to. Of course, in a perfect world, we recap UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Nascimento on a Monday. But here we are on a Wednesday. We will close out the show with our preview and predictions for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy. That beckons this Saturday at the UFC Apex. Plenty of Apex conversation today, as usual. Every other week, we're talking about that venue. But now that UFC CEO Dana White has chimed in, we will certainly talk a little bit about that. And I would like to also wish our producer, Cody Merrow, a very happy 31st birthday off the top of the show.
Hey.
KenFlo, not 31 today. I mean, what would you do to be our executive producer, Cody Merrow, to be single at 31? And maybe he's not single, right? I mean, he's usually pretty revealing with those type of things to me.
Yeah.
But I mean, can you imagine, I mean, being a 31-year-old single man. Yeah, he's single. That is quick confirmation from Cody Merrow. I think there's an underscore in there, ladies, but it's at Cody_Merrow if you also are single. And, perhaps the blue-eyed beauty is somebody with whom you want to wet your beak. I don't know.
31 years old, Cody. Unbelievable, man. Treating his body like an amusement park, I'm sure, at this point. So, stay safe, dude. Stay safe out there.
Yeah, Tinder.com or the Tinder application. Kenny, do you have product in your hair this morning or no? Looks like
I do have a little product.
Yeah, it looks really good. It looks really good.
It's a little messy. My son got a hold of it, but Yeah.
Yeah, it looks pretty
Right.
good. A
Yeah, usually
Bitcoin
I cover it with
t-shirt
a
looks
hat.
pretty good.
Yeah.
And we have a lot to get into. So let us get to it. Headlines is brought to you by Cuervo. Now's a good time to enjoy the tequila that invented tequila. So UFC Fight Night, Lewis versus Nascimento. Highest UFC Fight Night gate ever in St. Louis, Missouri. And it seems like per capita, those people made a shit ton of noise as well. So congratulations to the UFC, to the 314, to the STL, to Joaquin Buckley. You know, it was interesting. I watched some of the post-fight show this morning in preparation for this here Anik and Florian podcast, and Joaquin Buckley was on set. And they led the show with Derek Lewis. I'm almost inclined to lead the show with the newly minted UFC welterweight contender Joaquin Buckley as opposed to the Black Beast Derek Lewis, you know. But in the nature of the fight card and political correctness, Derek Lewis, 15th UFC win by knockout, Kenny, ties him for 4th all-time in that category. What else can you say about the Black Beast, right? Had to be extended a little bit here, round 3, 49 seconds against Rodrigo Nascimento, but, you know, he does seem to not be getting worse. He seems to be getting better, I think, at 39 years of age, and when he suggests that he is in his fighting prime, even if he's not far from it. Congratulations to the Black Beast on another win Saturday night.
Yeah, I agree, man. His balls was hot, but so was his overall game. I think his anti-grappling, his ability to defend takedowns, I think was on full display. It looked way better to me anyway. Just seemed way more confident with what he was doing and how he was trying to go about it. He was managing his volume, certainly. I think he was a little bit afraid of that being a 5-rounder that he would perhaps gas out, but this is kind of the maturation process of Derek Lewis. I think he's getting smarter. I think we're seeing a lot of that hard work and his grappling pay off. And I think he was in another really important spot, being a main event, being a heavyweight. And Derek Lewis looked great. I think he looked the best he's had in a long time.
Just in terms of his energy management and a more measured approach, I wonder how he would fare in more 3-round fights as co-main events, because I do think that he has built up, you know, we talk a lot on this podcast about wrestling and grappling maintenance, and I do think he has built that up. Every training camp hasn't been perfect for Derek Lewis, like if Bob Perez is out there listening, right? But I do think he's put in a lot of time and a lot of hours as far as those parts of his games. And when you sort of piggyback those on top of each other, 12 main event training camps in the UFC. And a lot of those training camps were really fucking good and really committed to cardio and wrestling and grappling. So we sit here, we congratulate Derek Lewis. I wouldn't mind seeing him in a co-main event on pay-per-view. A lot of main events for this guy, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this guy's got a ton of experience. He's always exciting to watch. He's always trying to deliver a knockout the best that he can. And sometimes it takes a little while for your grappling to pan out, at least in a performance setting. Sometimes you can do some great things in the practice room and you're feeling good, but when it comes down to executing on fight night, sometimes it just doesn't pan out, especially in regards to the grappling training. So it takes time, it takes sensitivity, but I think we're finally seeing him more comfortable in the octagon. Nascimento is not an easy out. I think he's good and pretty dangerous everywhere. And perhaps didn't get as much respect heading into this, but I think this is a very good and important win for Derek Lewis. No question about it.
It's been about 3 minutes since I suggested live that our producer Cody Merrow is single, not a single female advancement on X. Like, what are ladies doing out there? So in terms of who might be next for Derek Lewis, we have the heavyweight rankings here, and a lot of these guys are matched up. He seems to want that Jailton Almeida fight back. He's a guy who I think is matched up right now. Marcin Tybura is another guy that's in and around there. Obviously, we have a lot of congestion at the top of this heavyweight division, just given what's going on with Stipe and Johnny Bones. What's your appetite for giving Derek Lewis a chance to avenge that Jailton Almeida setback at some point in the not too distant future?
I think there's probably better matchups for him. However, the fact that he's calling out Jailton Almeida, a guy who was largely dominant over the course of 5 rounds, I think it was a 5-rounder, right, against Jailton?
It was it yes, sir.
Yeah. So the fact that he is calling him out, I think shows that he's way more confident about that rematch. That if he's able to stop those takedowns, that he should definitely win that fight. He was in a lot of tough spots, showed some very good defensive grappling on the ground. Wasn't really on point with his takedown defense. And I think that if he is on point, or at least looks the way he did against Nascimento, I think he wins that fight. I think Jailton is a very good fighter. I do think he's vulnerable on the feet. I do think he's susceptible to being knocked out, as we saw in that last fight against Curtis Blade. I'm sure that gave certainly Derek Lewis an even better blueprint if he didn't have one before against Almeida. And I like it. I do like it. I think that maybe there's some other better matchups for him out there. But with Jailton, what now at number 7, I think that it might make a little more sense. Yeah.
Hopefully we get a little bit more clarity on KenFlo's end if you guys are experiencing that. I am reading off of the internet right now. Jailton Almeida was going to face Alexander Volkov at UFC 302. Then Volkov booked against Sergey Pavlovich. Almeida now expected to face Alexander Romanov instead. So at least right now, Jailton Almeida has business to attend to, but the Black Beast, Derek Lewis, is still a factor in this heavyweight division. He's going to be heard from certainly after a big win this weekend. And I can understand why most of the handicappers that I talked to saw Derek Lewis value in that minus 160 range or so against Rodrigo Nascimento, who still has some work to do. But man, so much of this night had to do with location and some of these power punches just hitting right in the perfect spot. And certainly that was the beginning of the end for Rodrigo Nascimento against Derek Lewis. So, Kenny, Joaquin Buckley, I've sort of always felt like he has had star power as both athlete, fighter, and personality, and it's all seemingly coming together at the right time. He makes the quick turn here on relatively short notice, as did his opponent, but to be in this co-main event in his native St. Louis, Missouri, and he totally dominated. And if ever there were a time when a 15-minute domination had as much or more value than a finish, I think this is it. To be able to put on for his people for 15 hard minutes like that with all the offensive skills in his arsenal, I thought it was a great showcase for Joaquin Buckley, and his opponent was, a guy who's 6'5" with like 30 fucking finishes. So all hail Joaquin Buckley. It was a huge weekend, I thought, for him.
No question. I think anytime you're able to get a win in your hometown, especially against a guy with a tremendous amount of experience, most of it, of course, outside of the UFC, but still a dangerous opponent nonetheless against Nursultan Ruziboyev. I think that, that was a fight that I thought Ruziboyev could have won. I don't think his takedown defense was great. I think Joaquin was the smarter, better fighter that night. I think that was clear. Was it a dominant win? I'm not sure. I think it was very clear. But for Buckley, again, getting a win in your hometown, this was huge. Doing it on short notice was huge. A great opportunity to get the hometown fans behind him even more and show that, this is a town that wants to see more fights, wants to see more of Buckley, I'm sure. So, perhaps they make another event in the future. So anytime you're able to, share the sport with new cities and all that stuff and spread the UFC brand around, I think that's a great thing. I think Buckley suffered a little bit with his volume. I think that maybe he could have been more aggressive at times, but still a great win. It was a smart approach against a very dangerous Ruziboyev.
Birthday boy Cody doesn't have very nice things to say about Joaquin Buckley in the chat. He said he thought it was more of a glaringly bad performance from Ruziboyev. He says he wasn't very impressed by Buck, was more astonished at how badly he was using his range. Man, Cody coming out firing on his birthday. So I guess I will spin it forward a little bit. I do love just the whole Joaquin Buckley on a microphone. I didn't love the Conor McGregor call out, but I just love the stand up. If you're from St. Louis, STL stands for show the love. I just think there's an undeniable connection there, and it really is a great fight town. And I'm glad that the UFC was able to return, and I'm glad that they were able to showcase some of the guys from that region. I think back to you and Brian Battle in Charlotte, North Carolina. This is a really big deal, and it's sort of potentially a once in a lifetime thing. I mean, remind me the next time Joaquin Buckley gets the chance to fight in St. Louis. As far as how far he can take it, don't like the Conor McGregor call out. The Gilbert Burns fight seems to make a lot of sense. Gilbert seems to be open to that. I mean, he's not the turning down type. But it sounds like, Kenny, you're more in the slow your roll column when it comes to Joaquin Buckley facing top 5 UFC welterweight competition right now.
Yeah, I think so. To me, he hasn't quite shown that, aside from that knockout from way back in the day against Impa Kasanganay, for me, I haven't seen that same kind of dynamo in Joaquin Buckley for quite a while. I think he definitely is maturing as well and is becoming more well-rounded and smarter with his game planning. But I'm not sure if he's showing the skills yet that indicates that he's ready for a top 5 opponent.
Yeah.
I think this is a great stepping stone towards that goal, though.
Yeah. And whatever hair product you are using today, Kenny, I think you should stick with that. But now joining us on the guest line, thrilled to bring into the conversation one of the 3 broadcasters on the call this past weekend, our good friend, one of the most talented broadcasters in mixed martial arts today, our good friend, colleague, repping loud and proud as usual, UFC commentator Laura Sanko is with us. Laura, it's great to see you. Thanks for the time. What a weekend for you. How was that whole experience with your son Burke being octagon side? I'd imagine there were some different emotions rifling through your veins with that dynamic.
Yeah, it was really, really fun because when the UFC came to Kansas City, I was working it, but I was on the desk. So I was way up high and kind of far removed for them. So this is the first time for me to be able to kind of be in the center of the action and have them right behind me. And it was super special. I mean, you should have seen my son's eyes when Derek Lewis dropped Trow.
That's right. I didn't even think about that.
He's never seen so much of a full-grown naked man before. Right. There we go.
Right. Yeah. We're so meat and potatoes here on the Anik and Florian podcast, right? That we didn't necessarily go down that. I mean, KenFlo wanted to talk about that, but yeah, I didn't even think about that component.
I'm going to turn everything into the weigh-in show if I can. I'm sorry.
Of course. No, I love it. So I had my children octagon side in Jacksonville, Florida last year, and I vowed to never do that again. There was just different emotion. I know your husband was there obviously as well. For me, I don't know. Having my kids that close, I know I'm not a fighter. You were. I don't know. I just felt like it was a little bit too close for comfort and had my brain sort of separated a little bit. I don't know.
There were a couple of moments in particular and I don't remember which fights they were. It might have been, well, it wouldn't have been the Despain fight because there really wasn't that tremendous ground and pound in that one. But might have been Chase Hooper versus Slavaclaus because I think that they were over right on the edge of the octagon. I mean, literally just feet from him. And it's one thing to watch these fights at home, which of course he's just around it all the time as much as I'm watching footage. But yeah, there was a moment where I was like, I wonder if this is making him feel some sort of way. But he looked over and he was just like, which I don't know that's a good thing or bad thing, but he wasn't negatively affected by it. So there's that.
Great. Such a handsome man. Well, Amanda Hebos was fighting Macy Barber in Jacksonville, and my kids are less put off by the blood than what you're talking about, the ground and pound, the mounting of one human being on another and just unanswered ground strikes. Anyway, we conducted an informal poll of our viewers as to what else they might like to see on this here show. And in terms of guest requests, no name was mentioned more than yours. So we're very happy to let you know that and bring you to our audience today.
Well,
so how far from your front door is that arena?
It was a 3.5-hour drive. So
yeah, so it's a little
opposite side of the state. But you know what? In the Midwest, you get a little excited about stuff. So I was just happy to be, representing Missouri and even having the option to drive there because it just doesn't happen that often. So
right. All right. So before I send it over to KenFlo, you've had the experience of calling a pay-per-view in Sydney, Australia last September. You're probably the Apex queen, right? Like I'm sure you want to flip that place the fucking bird. And now that the boss has talked about it, maybe we will get into that. But how does it compare for you calling fights domestically in St. Louis with a crowd versus the pay-per-view versus the Apex now that you've had all these different big experiences?
Well, you guys can appreciate this better than anyone. That was only the second time I've called fights in an arena. So I had, of course, for LFA and Invicta, but the crowd is, a percentage of what you get at these. And what was the seating? 15,000, 20,000, something like that? Yeah, sold out, very, very loud. So my own personal experience, I love the energy. I love the feeling of it just feels elevated. It feels like a much bigger deal. It looks better on camera, quite frankly. But if we're going to talk brass tacks of commentating and broadcasting, it's very stressful for me because I immediately become instantaneously jealous of you and Kenny and Brendan Fitzgerald and Michael Bisping. And frankly, I listen to Brian Petrie on this show, and I think I would pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to have a slightly more effeminate version of that man's voice in my body because I can't, and you heard it, and I was embarrassed by it. You heard it a couple times on the broadcast. I try to really seize the energy and push it, and it just comes out, you know, and I can't. It's still something. It's a work in progress. Yeah.
You just need vocal damage. We just have to have her voice a video game. You'll damage your voice. It'll take it down an octave. Like there are certain notes I can no longer sing. And once we damage your voice to that extent, you're good.
Can I tell you a funny story very quickly? So the couple of times I did play-by-play for Invicta, I was so self-conscious of my voice. And I know my voice feels better. It feels louder when it's a little damaged. After I've had like a long night out at a bar before and I'm yelling over music, the next morning I'm like, I sound amazing. So I thought, how can I replicate this, but still obviously not like go out to a bar the night before these fights? This is mortifying. I hope my son doesn't watch this. I smoked a couple of cigarettes out behind the Invicta Hotel.
Yeah.
And I thought I was hiding by a dumpster. And I don't remember who it was, but like they had parked in the back and a couple of fighters walked in the back. I was mortified.
I love it.
Like I'm a closet smoker, but I was trying to damage my vocal cords.
I love it.
Whiskey shots too are supposed to be helpful. I don't know if it's helpful for the actual broadcasting, but for the voice, I think there may be some benefits there. Laura, I think you're killing it, man. I think every time I hear you, I hear a clear, a direct kind of commentary that is very refreshing. I'm very critical of commentators. I think you're doing a great job. Every time I hear you, it sounds better and better. So
thank you.
How was it for you? Like, is that energy? I know you mentioned the energy. Does that elevate your game a little bit, right? Just having that crowd there?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, and I'll say it too. I think having my family there, you know, I really wanted to depress them. You know, I want my husband to be going, yeah, this is why she's gone so much. You know, I want and same thing for my son. Like, okay, my mom's doing big things. And, you know, I miss some of the things that I would love to be there for whether it's at school or sports or whatever. So those moments really do energize me because it feels like they see the meaning right in front of them. Like, oh, this is what she's been doing. This is a big deal. So that was kind of more what really energized me. But yeah, to look around and like, it's definitely different than the Apex. It's a lot different than the Apex.
What was your favorite fight of the night?
Oh gosh, man. You know, I actually think in terms of who really impressed me, Diego Ferreira. And I know that's kind of a, you know, under the radar call out because there were so many impressive performances. Carlos Ulberg, Chase Hooper, like I could talk about what those guys did, but Diego Ferreira turning back the clock and cooking a guy who was so dangerous coming into this. And even in the fighter meetings, like Diego, you could tell without articulating it specifically, it was kind of like, listen, I'm just going to go out there and I'm going to be a vet. But that sometimes you read between the lines and that means, yeah, he's probably going to be faster. He's going to hit harder. And it's possible he's more skilled. I don't know yet, but I'm a vet. That's kind of what I was reading. And Raumbetsky, on the other hand, so confident. So to see Diego go out there and really execute on those IQ moments and just make it through that first round and then cook him the rest of the fight was so impressive. I'm going to forget his age now, 37, 36.
Yeah, somewhere it said he was 39. I find that exceedingly hard to believe.
That actually, you know what? I think I'd have to look it up, but I remember being like, wow, this is up there for that weight class. He might be 39, John. You as always, you are going to know the stats better than I do.
Well, my twin brother just walked into the studio. I don't know if y'all like your new haircut. I actually really don't like it, but we're not going to show. We'll put him on camera eventually. He's going to look up how old Diego Ferreira is. Laura Sanko with us here on this live edition of the Anik and Florian podcast. So one fight I noticed, and you know, silence is our friend, obviously, as commentators, especially in a 3-person booth. But I noticed that your first utterance in a given round wasn't until the 4:07 mark, right? And I thought it showed tremendous. Now, I'm not looking for these things. Like, I really don't. The commentators for me, MMA or other sports, unless they're bothering me, like I'm really not so much paying attention. But I really believe in you. And I just like to see that you can just let 53 seconds expire, let both your broadcast partners pull out their dicks, and then say something really thoughtful when it's your time at 4:07. So I don't know that there's even a question there.
That means a lot.
But sometimes, yes, please. Sometimes like I don't say a word for 3 minutes and I'm good with it. Please go ahead.
That means a lot to hear because I just totally pulling the curtain back here. I am still somewhat self-conscious of appearing to the audience like I don't have enough to say because I don't have the credentials that the guys next to me do. And I am constantly fighting with myself to not, you don't have to go out there and constantly prove that you belong to be here. But it is a battle in my own mind to not have that mindset. I literally went into this week, and my husband was the one who told me, he's like, because especially like big personalities, like it's whether it's a Michael or a DC, bigger voices, bigger personalities. And I do understand too that if I was a fan watching at home, I would want to hear Michael Bisping, talk probably more than I would want to hear me talk, if I'm just being brutally honest. So he's like, listen, my husband said, stop trying to let them know how smart you are. Like, they'll figure it out. Just let Michael make all the points he wants to make, let Brendan do his reads and, call the shots that he needs to call, and let the moment come to you and stop trying to find the moment to show how smart you are. And so I tried really hard to approach this particular show with that mindset. And so it means a lot to hear you say that.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, and it's not just letting your MMA intellect shine through, but you are a big personality, right? Like, a lot of us know the real Laura Sanko, and I think you and I maybe have some similarities there. Now, certainly you're a fighter, so I know unequivocally anyone to my right, the fan base should want to hear what they have to say more than what I have to say, but you really are doing a good job. And it's hard when you don't get regular repetitions outside of the Apex. It's a totally different fucking beast. Like, I was going to ask you, Ed Short Fuse Herman, whom you know well, like, refused to fight at the Apex. I'm curious what you think about like the fighter experience at the Apex, because 51% of these fighters got into this to walk out in front of a big UFC crowd, not to do this.
That's the thing. That's the thing that we have to keep sight of. Like, sometimes for me, it's just, it's just a show regardless of where it is. And so sometimes the context doesn't matter as much to me. But when I look at whether it's former teammates or guys I just know that have been grinding forever to get to this point, and the dream, not every fighter is going to be a champion. And we all know that. We don't like to necessarily say that, but not every fighter is going to be a champion. In fact, most of them will not be champions. So their Apex is a moment, is a win in front of a crowd and getting their hand raised and hearing that roar and feeling that combination of relief and joy and culmination of hard work. That's their belt. So when we don't allow them to have that on a regular basis, it really is taking away from what these guys work so hard to do. It's and I feel like I appreciated more this card. To some degree, it affects the fan experience at home as well. It looks different. It sounds different. It feels different. And as a fan of this sport, I want to watch fighters fight in front of a crowd. And because you can see the moments where like they come alive because the energy of the crowd spurs them on. And we missed that at the Apex.
You blew my mind when you said that you had only called fights twice outside of there.
Sydney was terrifying.
Yeah.
I just didn't tell you that.
Oh my gosh. All right. We got some rapid fire questions with Laura Sanko on the way out. The only question that was going to end up on the cutting room floor, I'm just curious in terms of your profile and how you navigated. And I guess, some of the commentators aren't staying at the host hotel anymore just for certain reasons. We're just trying not to waste time when we could be prepping. I'm just curious how you're navigating that when everybody wants a picture, whether your son's on your shoulder or not, as your profile has increased over the last 18 to 24 months or so.
Well, before the fight, I basically won't leave my room because I appreciate the rhythm of this. Again, this is only my second time doing it when we do fighter meetings on a Wednesday, and then basically have Thursday and Friday, or no, excuse me, do fighter meetings in person on a Thursday, because then we got the rest of Thursday, all of Friday, and some of Saturday morning to just sit and soak in the information. I do much better when I can just keep going over it, keep thinking about it, keep analyzing it, keep thinking about the what ifs. But in terms of like taking pictures and stuff, I love it. I'm still, after the fights, I love it. It drove my son crazy. Like, he was ready to punch a few people. He was over it after the second picture. He was done, especially because some of them were like trying to make sure that he wasn't in it.
Right. He's like, listen. Oh yeah. Well, no. And I've sort of, we get to follow each other's kids sort of from afar on Instagram. And it's amazing to see him grow up and be on a farm and put on some size. We got some rapid fire questions on the way out with UFC commentator Laura Sanko on Instagram, Laura_Sanko. Your son's my first one is Burke related. Your son's favorite sport right now, to play and to watch.
To play and to watch. To play is probably basketball, but just we're talking like driveway basketball.
That's
He's
okay.
he's not ready to play on a team yet. The only organized sports he does so far is he does archery.
Oh,
And
wow.
he's doing a pickleball camp this summer, John.
It's amazing. That's
coming for
amazing.
you.
We just started playing. Jay, can you see Laura Sanko? There's Jay.
I like the hair. I love the hair.
Yeah, he's got my mic down. Amateur. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing well, Jason. How are you?
I'm great. Good
I
to
feel
see
bad
you.
for Kenny. I feel like
Oh,
I
you
just
got
need
my
to
good
just say
camera. You got
Kenny's
my
name
camera.
once. Kenny this whole time.
Dude, the hair looks great, Jason.
Oh, we don't know what we're doing.
It's
John
shot.
almost shaved it off yesterday. I may try and just
No,
impersonate
don't
John.
do that.
I love it.
All right. Fact or fiction? I can't even ask you this, but is there a pay-per-view on Laura Sanko's commentary schedule, at least right now as it stands for 2024? No.
Fiction. Not for any like, oh, I didn't pass the test type of reasons.
Oh, yeah.
Zach's been very clear about that. It's just a scheduling thing, a lot of mouths to feed. And obviously Joe gets the domestic and then everything else kind of gets parceled up. I think there's some contractual things in there. So hopefully early 2024, we'll bang that one again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You absolutely
Or
realized a
25,
ton of
whatever.
success, and we love having you live on pay-per-view. Are the Kansas City Chiefs your favorite sports team?
Yes. Yeah.
Now, they won the Super Bowl in 1970 before you were born. Then they won it 2020, 23, 24.
I know.
I know prior to Patrick Mahomes' arrival, I mean, Arrowhead Stadium, great ownership, great head coach franchise, right? But were you a diehard Chiefs fan like pre-Mahomes?
Well, it was hard to be. I mean, I
Yeah.
lived here most of my life. I've lived in New York for a couple of years, but
Yeah.
the vast majority of my life has been spent in Kansas City. So we just didn't have much to cheer for. Like we were never terrible, but you never got your hopes up. You were excited for a mediocre season that would end, either in the first round or before the playoffs. And you'd get retired quarterbacks that were like maybe had 60%, 50% left in the gas tank. And that was it. And then along came Patrick Mahomes. Changed everything.
Yep. All right. Last question. Can you name one Kansas City Royal?
I mean,
I couldn't until this morning. They're 26-18. They're off to an outstanding start. You're not a baseball commentator,
I'm not. I mean, you've probably seen this on the Wayne show. I get embarrassed when I try to get out over my skis talking even a little bit about any other football. If I'm like watching the Chiefs, obviously I can chop it up a little bit, but I like one sport and one sport only.
I love it.
I'm with you.
Hey,
I'm with you.
I'm
on
afraid
that.
to talk about an anaconda, right? So, I got much bigger problems than you. The great Laura Sanko, congratulations on
Thank
all
you.
of your success. And I'll leave you with this. Tom Brady did an announcement recently about his NFL on Fox debut. And even there's a lesson like less is more, right? He basically said, just sort of offhandedly, we'll see if Dak Prescott can finally break through, and it's like every utterance now for Tom is going to be judged. And so for me, it's like, well, hey, when I don't say anything, there's nothing to fucking judge. So John, shut the fuck up and stay in your lane. And the more I do that, the more I stick around.
I'm learning.
So, hey, you're the best. Congratulations. Thank you for coming on. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, John.
See you, Laura.
Bye.
So good. The great Laura Sanko with us here on the Anik and Florian podcast. KenFlo is a tough critic, and she passes the test as far as her UFC commentary is concerned.
She's killing it, dude.
Throw that 3-shot on. What's up, Flo? No, just so they can see John when I talk shit to John. Bring me on without my mic on, talking shit about my hair right out of the gate. I got my hair cut. Look at the skin fade on the side. Like, looks pretty good.
Like,
Longo's
what are we
been on
looking
hold.
for?
Longo's been on hold for 6 minutes,
All right,
so
bring
we
him on.
got to go 4 wide here and welcome on Ray Longo.
Yeah, I love the haircut. Love it.
Thanks, buddy. I love you. Good to see you.
Love it. It's good to see you.
I'm not trying to be funny here, Kenny. His haircut, you guys are seeing it with a headset. Take the headset off for a second.
I don't know what we're doing, okay?
He doesn't even like it. He walked in here defeated about his fucking haircut. It looks all right. Gosh, I'm just trying to speak truth here. Walked in here defeated about
It
my
looks
haircut.
good. It looks good. We all look like crap compared to Laura Sanko, for being honest.
That's it,
though.
right.
Exactly.
But I gotta say, Jason, I love the hair, dude. Stop hiding it with the hat.
Ray
Thanks,
Longo Minute. Every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast, we apologize profusely about the miscommunication on Monday. Raymond, nobody feels worse about that than me.
Nothing to feel bad about. Hey, I agree with Kenny. Let's keep Sanko off of this so we all look better. I'm in total agreement with that, Kenny.
So what did you try and notify Ray about the show via electronic mail? No, I just wrongfully assumed that the birthday boy Cody had let him know that we were on Wednesday this week. Oh, all right.
Yeah, your fucking producer had jury duty and dropped the ball.
He wasn't caught. Yeah. You know what? I'm fucking going dark next week. That's what I'm doing. I'm going fucking dark next week. Don't make me go dark. Hey, Ray.
I was worried that somebody actually got hurt or was in trouble. That's how pathetic I am.
That wouldn't be that far off, though, necessarily.
No, I tell you, nobody was even returning the text. Like, oh, God. Did I miss something? I don't follow social media
definitely
that much.
Not.
Did I miss something?
No, we would never do a regular episode without you. We did a little half episode with Dominic Cruz last week. And Kenny, it was interesting because Cruzy was off the top of the show. And so I said, Monday, whatever the fuck, episode 486. And Dom's like, 486 fucking episodes. Like, how do you guys find shit to talk about? And DC had asked me that same question, no more than like 6 weeks prior. So I thought that was interesting, Ray. But somehow, some way, knocking on the door of episode 500, you keep showing up.
I'm like a stray cat. Once you feed me once, I keep coming back to the door. What am I going to tell you?
So there seems to be some dissenting opinions in this room as to Joaquin Buckley and maybe how good he was Saturday night and how good he can be in the future. What did you make of Joaquin Buckley, not just the hometown showcase, Ray, but, his relative welterweight ceiling after what you saw this weekend?
It's for me, it's tough because that other guy is, what was he, 6'5"? I mean, he had a deal. He had to deal with a lot. So based on that, he did really, really well. I think that guy's a tough out, the tall guy. But I don't think that's the fight to look at. But he did find a way to win that fight, and that's what winners do. You know what I mean? I don't think that was an easy fight for him. But he found a way to win, and I'm going to say that means a lot. So
Derek Lewis.
What I mean, Kenny? Like that's not an easy out, that guy. You know what I mean? And that guy's gonna win a lot of fights. And Buckley went in there in front of his hometown. I don't think it was an easy ask for him. And I thought he did outstanding based on that. Was it an exciting fight? Like it was, it was okay, but I think he had to do what he had to do to win that fight, and he did it. So the call out was horrendous. Afterwards, that was I don't know what was worse, the call out or Derek Lewis's ass crack, but one of those two.
Yeah, it's risky, right? Because when you ask for a fight like that, it almost certainly guarantees you will not get that fight. It's like, wait for something maybe a little bigger.
I wasn't getting that whole. What was he calling everybody a whore? I don't even know what the hell that was. I mean,
at the end. That was, he lost me there at the end.
Yeah.
But I guess I am curious, maybe more so than KenFlo right now, to see how he could do against someone like Gilbert Burns. And I think the fight actually makes sense
100%
to see where Gilbert is at.
Oh, I think that's a great fight. And
so why not, right? Just get on a mic and be like, Dorino, do you have something to say? I mean, we have the star of the show, Ray, here. You're giving me a signal. Birthday boy producers tell me to go to camera 1. What do you have to say? Oh, it is here. That's camera 2, actually. What I have to say, it couldn't be a worse. I love Joaquin Buckley. And last week's show, I said I like 99% of things out of his mouth. My point is, if there's ever a spot not to call for the entertainment fight, it's then. You're like an up-and-coming welterweight contender. You jump into the rankings after beating Luque. I couldn't agree with you more. Call out Burns, call out a contender. If there was ever not a time to make that call out, and for a guy who's great on the mic, just a bad moment for him, I thought. But no big deal. That's all I got.
That's good. I tell you, that's good. But I agree with Jason on that too. I thought the timing, and I think he was just excited in front of his home crowd. And he, I think these guys, before they go into the fight, they already pre-planned their speech. And I think it was just too late.
Right.
I think it was too late to take it back. He was on a roll, and nobody was going to. You could see Bisping was cringing the whole way through. He didn't know what to do, but it is what it is.
He tried.
I think he did try, yeah.
At one point, Bisping did roll his eye. Like at the end,
His eye. Wow.
Catch that flow?
Wow, Jason.
You asshole.
Wow.
Well, John's just too slow or focusing on the programming. What he did, he sort of like rolled his eye.
Wow. Wow.
I love Mike. I'm not knocking him. He knows. Yeah. Kenny was the only one who caught it. I knew John be way too fucking asleep to catch that. Well, no, I mean, it's Cody's birthday and I feel bad. You're the one who's trying to give me camera direction in the chat. So I don't even know what to say. I'm trying to focus, but there's so many different things I want to get into as far as this live event was concerned. Ray, one thing that I had in my notes for you. So, and we'll circle back up to Carlos Ulberg in a second. Everybody relax. But Tisha Pennington and Tabitha Ricci, did either of you gentlemen see that fight?
Yes.
So it's just a broader conversation. Like round 2, Ricci is controlling her up against the fence for 4 minutes. And then Tisha Torres Pennington throws a bunch of volume strikes over the final minute. I can't really tell what lands. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that round. And the fight sort of hinges upon that, right? Is again, had me thinking about open scoring as I'm watching that fight, that these ladies, if they knew where they were at, maybe round 3 plays out differently, more entertainingly, or what have you, but again, it's like subjective value of control versus offense. I just don't know. I don't know.
Well, who'd you think won the fight?
Gosh, I mean, I kind of thought Torres Pennington won rounds 1 and 2.
Yeah. I thought she won the fight. I'm not saying it was a robbery, but I just don't know what the other girl did. I mean, to win that
what am I scoring?
That was more my problem. And I wasn't watching the fight as a judge, but as I was watching, I was like, well, Pennington's pushing forward, and she looks like she's getting off, and I just never saw any offense from the other girl. If I'm correct at this, Wednesday.
Yeah, I just found myself having a hard time figuring out who won that fight and pining for open scoring in that moment. Kenny, did you see that or no? Because we have a lot we can get to if you didn't.
I did. I thought that Pennington was going to get the win. Honestly, I saw it very similarly. And yeah, it's hard. But again, almost not surprised, just given how close the fight was. And again, just the judges in general being inconsistent. I wasn't shocked, but thought Pennington should have got the nod.
John, and not to be conspiratorial, but if in a close fight like that, who's the up and comer and who's kind of getting a little older? It's just I thought Pennington won, and as weird as this is, I knew they were going to give it to Ricci, and that's where I literally lose my mind over half the time. She just kind of knew it, and I thought the Woodson Caceres fight was very close.
I did too. I don't 100%. 100%. I think there's something there. But we'll move on to Carlos Ulberg. Kenny, we'll start with you, and then Raymond, we want to hear all that you have to say. And Jay, please, by all means, bad haircut or otherwise, you can chime in. So Carlos Ulberg, Kenny, I don't want to sit here and suggest that there are a lot of subpar athletes in this light heavyweight division, but he is not one of them. Like the accuracy, I know it's a 12-second fight, but there's still a lot there. Like to hit the moving target in that way, and Dean Thomas referenced it on the post-fight show, like it wasn't a perfect performance from Carlos Ulberg, right? He caught a big right hand early on in a 12-second fight, but really encouraged to see how this athlete can do against some of these guys in the top 10. What'd you make of Carlos Ulberg's performance bonus win over Alonzo Menafield?
Yeah, listen, it was a very short fight. I thought Menafield really tried to test the chin of Ulberg early and just kind of wanted to throw the dice a little bit, thinking he was going to be the heavier-handed fighter. I don't think it was a terrible attempt. The problem was he just got way too sloppy. And as a result, Ulberg got a little sloppy as well. It doesn't matter, though. At the end of the day, you're looking for a win. You're looking for a finish. And doing that against a dangerous guy in Menafield, I think, is always going to be a good result. Wasn't pretty. Wasn't as pretty as Ulberg looks. But I still think he got a great win. Got that knockout when he needed to. And although it was a little sloppy at times, that's a big win, man. That's a great knockout that definitely got the fans out of their seats.
Yeah, I like that too. And I'll tell you, this is going to come out wrong, but I think it was a good sign at Ulberg because he's not a sloppy fighter, but sometimes you got to get dirty. And that's what and then on a split second, and he did it. You know what I mean? Like those fights, you got to react instantly, and that's what he did. And if he got sloppy, that's okay with me. But he threw down and he landed his shots, and that's what got him out of it. Even though it was a short fight, he could have got it. He could have been a deer in headlights too, Kenny, and just froze.
Yeah,
but he didn't do that. So he started. I think he did the right thing. You're not going to be clean in a situation like that.
right. And I think Menifield probably tried to surprise him, similar to Njoku,
Mhm.
and thought he was gonna go out there and steal the thunder. But Olberg was up for the task, man, and traded at the right time.
Yeah, 100%.
Probably see Carlos Ulberg, I would think, on pay-per-view in Perth in August. A lot of the other light heavyweights around him do have fights coming up. Khalil Roundtree Jr. and Jamal Hill. You've got Johnny Walker fighting Volkan Oezdemir. Those guys are number 7 and 9, respectfully. But Ulberg now has the number 11 next to his name. Menifield drops a couple pegs down to number 13 in the world. So Waldo Cortez Acosta, I'm excited to talk about this just because as an MMA fan, it's now going to be interesting to see this Cuban Robelis de Spain and just see how much he can develop, KenFlo, because this was a real wake-up call for him. He loses by unanimous decision 30-26 and then 30-27 times 2. And say what you will of the former baseball player Waldo Cortez Acosta and what his ceiling may be. But for de Spain, wrestling has got to be maybe all he does. Like Ray wouldn't let this guy, I think, throw a single punch for like 12 months.
Without a doubt.
Yeah, I think sometimes we get caught up seeing what guys do in training, and maybe the training partners that you have out there you're looking very good against, or maybe your ability to get back to your feet in practice is different than what you show during the fight. But and you kind of think you're going to be able to cheat that wrestling a little bit and be like, no, he's such a good striker. If he just lands, he's going to be fine. Well,
Yeah.
athleticism, talent, striking precision can only go so far. This is a sport that integrates everything together, and we saw some major vulnerabilities on the part of de Spain. I mean, he looked pretty lost on the ground. So yes, he needs to get his wrestling in order. He's got to get his jiu-jitsu ground game in order. If he's trying to be the best at this, then he really has a lot of work to do. But he has the talent to do it. So get those right training partners, get to work on those weaknesses. And I think this is the difference of people that are kind of results based as opposed to skill based. Like, are you trying to just go out there and win and feel good about heading into that fight? Or are you actually trying to improve your skills with every practice session? And I think that's where kind of de Spain and his team need to get together and go, all right, we need to have better long-term thinking here.
Yeah, I've been dumpster fire. You know what's sad is like, because as a coach, they knew he didn't have the wrestling or the jiu-jitsu. I mean, to be at this level and the UFC being around for this long and to not have a clue, it either speaks volumes about that division or how desperate they are to get a guy in there, and again, he came out, he was a world beater that first fight. He's huge. He's beating the crap out of somebody, but that he got exposed and he's got to now go back and really put the work in so that never happens again. But you would have thought at this level, there would have been more of a technical ability coming out of the guy. It's just, I don't know. And was Dana mad at that fight? Did he kind of piss on that fight? Because I thought Cortez did what he had to do. He exposed the guy. I thought it was a great fight for Cortez.
I don't know. Yeah, no. And I thought that he also managed those dangerous moments well, right? On the feet.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing to be upset with that guy for. He did what he had to do. But again, the narrative had to be that they liked this big, huge guy. It was almost like when Ngannou got beat by Stipe, and then he had to fight with Derek Lewis and they looked at each other like it was.
Yeah.
He's in that category right now.
Yeah.
He's got to do something and turn everything around. I mean, he's definitely young enough to do it. So I don't think he's going to have a problem, but somebody's got to stay on top of him. It seems like he's surrounded by yes men. He hits a guy in the gym, they go into another stratosphere and everybody's gaga goo goo. But MMA, it's totally different, man. And Cortez isn't, He's on a, the guy's a baseball player. He's taking you down. So I mean, I don't
Right.
know.
That's the thing. That's what's a little bit.
Yeah. He's not. It wasn't like it was Bo Nickel going in there to expose the guy.
And it looked like Despain was what he defended 1 out of every 4 takedowns or something like that. And again, that's the guy in Cortez Acosta who's not necessarily known for his takedown prowess. So,
but
yeah, they're gonna have to get
off his back, Kenny. There was not one iota of a elbow escape or trying to get on the hip.
Back to 1993 with that one.
Oh yeah, 100%. That was Gracie. That was Gracie in action all over again.
Well, this is exactly the conversation that I wanted to have, honestly, because people are asking him during the week, how soon can you contend in the heavyweight division?
Right.
And I go back to what Kenny said 3 minutes ago. Are you trying to be the best at this, right? Like they need to push the reset button on this. And I'm taking notes. Kenny's so fucking thoughtful, right? He also said in that little rant, long-term thinking, right? Like what exactly are we doing here? Because yes, he's 6'7", looks the part. He has an Olympic medal. I believe the color's bronze, but on the fucking podium. But like, what are we doing here? Because the challenges out there that are stiffer than Waldo Cortez Acosta will humiliate you, you know? So, yeah.
Right. That's, it's like, I think everybody, like the newer generation, they're just living for that Instagram video, that TikTok video. He already had his 15 seconds of fame the last fight. It might be good enough for him. Who knows?
Yeah.
But now he's got to really work at something that he's not good at. And that's going to be that's the issue. Will you do the things that you don't like to do?
Yeah.
Can he be comfortable being uncomfortable?
Right.
All
right. So a few other things on this St. Louis card, Ray, if I could just grab 5 more minutes of your time, that would be outstanding. Anything else going on in your world, by the way, Raymond, that we need to hit on?
I'll tell you what, man, I had a kid, Austin Halleck, 13-second knockout. He's 6-0 as an amateur. Austin, shout out to this kid, is just first off one of the best kids you'll ever meet. Great family. He's a killer, man. He's in there with all the pros. He's really, really good. This kid got a bright future. And I had a surprise visit from Marab yesterday. Just tell you, let me just say that, and then we'll go into your question, because I know that you brought that up. I'm thinking about I'm in the gym, I'm working out, and I see somebody come in. I don't know who the hell it is, but he's bringing luggage in, and he walks in. It's Marab. The guy takes his coat off and he starts wrestling with Papa within 10 minutes of being there. I'm not even joking around. So it's 12:30. It's about 1 o'clock. He flew in from Vegas. He's got a 3 o'clock flight. He's got to be on going to Spain, and then from Spain to Georgia. And I'm like, Rob, it's an international flight. You got to get the hell out of here. But the guy, this is why he's special, because the things that people don't like to do are just fun for him. It was almost like he picked up a game of pickleball in between flights. He's in there wrestling. It was mind-boggling to me. He just walked in, did his thing, said hello. We chatted for about 15 minutes, and then he left. It was
Where's he going? To go hang out with Topuria?
Nah, he's going to like a soccer game. Somebody invited him. They must have something big going on. I think it was some sport or entertainment thing, and then he's going to Georgia. But this is why this kid is special, man. I mean, who the hell can get off a flight from Vegas, go right to the gym with 3 big bags of luggage, just take his coat off, go in the dressing room, come out, start wrestling, get up, take a shower, and leave. I don't even recommend it. I don't think anybody should do anything after a flight like that. But
that's hilarious. This
is why this kid's dangerous, man, because what people don't want to do, he enjoys doing. He's living. They talk about living your best life. So happy to see this kid going crazy, man. It's awesome.
And he's just fine, but he was a bad car accident yesterday, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that was on the way to the airport.
No.
Oh, really? Yeah. What
the hell happened?
If it was before the wrestling, he's even crazier than I thought.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, he was in the back seat. It looked like multiple car accident, but the machine unscathed. Ready for the Sphere in September. Ray, how about the Sphere in September? You looking forward to that with your boy Marab? Give me all of that.
I'm looking forward to it, but I'll give you a little. It's nothing set, so You know, I don't know what they're talking about.
No, I will, and it's a lot like Bilal Muhammad not being set in Manchester, and it just is. You know what I'm saying? It's like, tell me Sugar Sean not fighting in the Sphere for, you know, all this money. You know, I know. Look, Dana talk about it being the biggest thing ever anyway.
All right. I'm excited. I hope it does happen. But as of yesterday, it is no contract signed or nothing.
This Sphere is going to be insane,
dude.
It is going to be insane. I am just not going to say what I was going to say, but no stone is being unturned. Like, I'm not going to sit here and suggest that Rogan's going to be in like a red suit, but I'm not telling you he won't be. I'm not telling you he fucking won't be, you know?
Rogan won't be in a red suit.
We'll see. Hey, Ray, I want to hit on a few other things, but a 13-second knockout on any level is a really special thing. That's really cool. So thanks for sharing that. Congratulations to Austin.
Yeah.
So next time I see Chase Hooper, I'm just going to be like, dude, congratulations, man. Like, what an unbelievable, 6 UFC wins. Vyacheslav Borshov is a real problem. So if you guys got anything on him, I'll take it. But I wanted to bring up the knockout at lightweight. Esteban Ribovics getting Terrence McKinney to sit there on a lawn chair up against the octagon, right? I mean, Kenny, like, it's cool to, as a single man, be able to tell a woman, like, yeah, I'm in the NBA. Yeah, like, I've made $30 million, right? Now, Esteban Ribovics has a very attractive girlfriend, I believe, if not fiance, right? And he's an outstanding fighter. But Kenny and Ray, what's the problem, Ray?
I mean, come on. It's bad enough the guy gets knocked out. You got him sitting on a fucking gravity chair in his backyard. Hey, what the fuck? Give the guy have a little compassion, no?
Right? Sorry, I'm not Chris Tognoni here. Steve Erstag and Matt Schnell. That was the most disgraceful thing I've ever seen.
The guy sitting on a lounge chair in the middle of the octagon.
Well, he was anyway, he got knocked out, and the resulting visual was him literally sitting there. You could have put a cigar in his mouth, I'm not trying to be disrespectful.
He's fucking great. Now he's in a lounge chair with a cigar. And a sombrero.
Kenny, I'm going to lead with you on this if I could, okay? So Esteban Ribovics has this ultimate highlight. Now, he didn't get a bonus. Not sure who he pissed off there, and his girlfriend's very attractive, right? But said that twice now. All right, but I'm just laying the foundation because I got fucking interrupted, okay? Like, to be able to produce a highlight like this in the UFC, there's just nothing like it, right? You can be in the NBA with your $30 million, and yeah, I had 40 last night, and I dunked on this dude, right? But, like, being able to show a woman that highlight, power to you, man. And this dude has a ceiling in MMA that I think is pretty legitimate as well. KenFlo, what'd you make of Esteban Ribovics making quick work there of our good friend Terrence McKinney?
Dude, that's a nasty knockout. And McKinney is capable of doing that himself. He is very dangerous, especially early on in fights. You'll see a guy in McKinney who will pursue that knockout himself. He was on the wrong end of this one. For sure. And that was just a nasty, nasty knockout. In your comments about the ladies, dude, like, listen,
right.
I'm not a great looking guy. Okay. I'm not disgusting.
Some would argue,
but I'm not a great looking guy. Right. And I'd be lying. Like, after a fight, I think it was at least on 2 occasions where I walked into a place and a girl just grabs me by the hand and just pulls me out of there. I'm like, this would never happen in any other situation.
Oh, without a doubt.
Whether you're a guy or a girl and you see another dude, a professional athlete, serve someone up like that, like you just knocked out an other professional fighter, it does something. You get the tingles in your body, and your DNA. Yes. The woman's like, that is the strong man. Must walk towards him, must procreate with that guy. These are things that you just can't control. But I think, that's what those knockouts do. Okay, that's all.
Hey, Ray, can I just get in for 1 second? I was at KenFlo's after party at Tao after he, did what he did to Joe Stevenson, right? And I think Keith Florian was shirtless in this nightclub at one point in time. It was a celebration. Ray, back to you.
No, Kenny, I'm still waiting. What happened after she took your hand? Can you? Because I tell you, you gotta keep us old guys. That's how I gotta live through you guys. I don't have many of those hands.
I was completely single back in the day, Ray. It was.
I love it. I mean, wow, it's nice to be young, man. If I'm Ribovics, I quit tomorrow. I resign. I live off of that for the next 10 years.
And on that note,
just keep looping that around on your iPhone every time you're out in the club.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Ray. Well, we got Brian Petrie waiting in the wings, so I don't want to keep him waiting too long. My final question for you was going to be, to what extent do you think Stipe Miocic can be competitive with Jon Jones come November?
Well, look, first off, I love Stipe, so I bet for me, he could be very competitive. I think he's got enough wrestling to keep it where he wants. But even though Jones is a beast, but at this weight, again, it was hard to tell with GUN because he had no wrestling, he just crumbled to the floor. But I think the longer that fight stays standing, Stipe's really in that fight, and who knows with the wrestling where he's at. But time's ticking, and I'd like to see that fight sooner rather than later for sure.
Yeah,
because
and Ray, is that more because of Stipe getting older, or do you think I think about this? He's been away from the cage for a long time. There's very few people that I think it benefits, but with someone like Stipe and all of his experience, it may serve him well. I see this as a potential advantage. How do you see that? Will we see Stipe, better than last time we saw him because of this layoff, or do you think it's going to take him time to kind of shake out the rust?
It depends on how he's training, but I think I agree with you, Kenny. I think for Stipe, it was a well-needed rest. He's got a family. As long as, I don't keep in touch with him to know exactly what he's doing, but as long as he's staying in the ballpark, I think it could be. Look, Jones isn't the most active guy either, and he's not getting any younger. So, with the heavyweights, it's a little different. They could go a little longer, but I like Stipe in that fight. You know what I mean? I really do. Again, but every month goes by, you are getting older, and we all know how that feels, right? So I hope he's doing the right thing. I think he's still got his head in the game, and I'd be excited for that fight.
There's so many unanswered questions on both sides. Jon Jones as a heavyweight, we still don't know exactly what he is, if he gets extended, and let's just hope it's November, right? Because if it's any further beyond, we already mentioned Stipe Miocic, 38 years old. The last time he fought, he'd be 42 when these guys engage, right?
I mean, that's tough. That's a tough ask. But again, Jones hasn't been active. It's a new weight class. Really not much from the Cyril Gane fight, because how long did that last? And standing up wise, Cyril was not going to have a problem with Jon Jones. I think the little we even saw on that was pretty evident. But I don't know. It's I think Stipe I think Jon always had trouble with the guys that were close to his height or bigger. I think we saw in the Gustafsson fight, the first fight. Second fight, he was smart. He took him down. But again, another guy not known for his wrestling. I think that's a good fight. I just wish it was sooner rather than later.
It feels less consequential as every month passes, right? Like I could do 20 minutes on Tom Aspinall, who right now actually is a betting underdog, albeit slightly against Jon Jones, if that future fight were to happen. I've been looking for a betting line on that fight never happening as long as I live, because Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall are not going to fight. It's just not going to happen. Hey, Ray.
Wow.
Hey, thanks for joining us, man. Sorry about the, cross streams there on that Monday.
I'm just glad everybody's okay. I'm just glad everybody's okay.
I need you. We got it all. The girls love us. We're like wham.
Wow, we're getting really we got sound effects now too. This is awesome.
Yeah, we've had sound effects for a while. A little Flight of the Conchords for you there on a Wednesday.
Wham. Hey,
have a great day and a better evening, and we'll talk to you next week. Does that sound good?
Back at you. Yeah, sounds great. Guys, have a great weekend. I will see you on Monday.
Raymond.
Take it easy, KenFlo.
Star of the show, Raymond Peter Longo. Ray Longo Minute every week here on the Anik and Florian podcast. And by the way, can you name one Kansas City Royal? Bobby Witt Jr. Remember the former Angel, Bobby Witt? Bobby Witt Jr. getting it done. Shortstop for your Kansas City Royals. All right, time now to spin this pig forward and welcome in Big Gun Brian Petrie. Nice Reds jersey. You look like fucking Chris Sabo with the wiffle.
Thank you. That's what I'm going for. It's a Sabo jersey. That's what I'm going for. We need the rec specs, bud. First off, Johnny, the Bengals helmet behind you.
Bro.
It looks amazing.
So, bro, I'm so excited to show you this. So I played in the Patrick Mahomes 15 in the Homies Foundation golf tournament, and in the silent auction, we won, as some of our listeners know, this Jamar Chase autographed helmet. So I'm going to get out of my chair here so I can. You got it. Thanks, Jay. Jason Anik at Boston Anik in studio here, helping us pay the bills. I mean,
hey, Peachy, I'll put it in a fucking box this afternoon, huh?
I mean,
clean.
Dude, I mean,
little stripes. There he is.
That's right.
Nice.
So, yeah, that's we're pretty excited about that. And yeah, the lesson learned is that if you don't want to spend, $1,500 on a helmet of your rival New England Patriots, then when you go to a Kansas City Chiefs auction, you can't bid on the Bengals stuff,
Right.
But, no, I'm pumped. I mean, I got Ryan Holzapple. My cousin is a diehard Bengals fan and season ticket holder. My guy, Big Gun Brian Petrie. It looks good in the studio, Brian. Is it
looks
not?
Great.
I mean,
the
not
stripes
right now?
look good anywhere, bro.
There you go. There you go. So how was your weekend? Any major thoughts for you on St. Louis? What do we miss?
I got my dick kicked in. I went 3-9 on my picks total. It was a rough night. This is the first time in probably 2 years that my DraftKings account hit 0. I usually am pretty good at money managing, and then I was a little on tilt because I lost the Pennington fight. I'm like, you know what? I put $900 on Round Becky. And I sat there and watched what happened precede it. And I went, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're an idiot. But we learned from this. We move forward. You got to have some losses to celebrate the wins, baby. So we're coming back. But first off, Laura Sanko dropped my name saying something about my...
Yes.
Shout out Laura Sanko. That was pretty cool. I'm a big fan of Laura Sanko. So that's
she's
cool.
a big fan of yours. The Big Gun Brian Petrie bandwagon / fan base just continues to swell. So real quick, I know we got to get into this Lerone Murphy, Edson Barboza business, but... Kenny, how much do you think it cost me and Jason to extend the Boston Bruins season last night? Right? Like you talk about DraftKings account being at 0, right? We were so sure the Florida Panthers were going to win last night that, I mean, we have some real work to do. Otherwise, we're going to have to meet this guy so we don't have to meet the guy.
I tell you what, though, like I'm almost done with this happiness hedge bullshit.
I know.
Because for the first time last night, and I hate to admit this, man, because I don't really like the whole point, Flo and Petrie, is we don't root for the money. Don't give a fuck. You're paying for a win. But it's like, I hate to say the Bruins are still going home. So what am I paying for? It's like, how much am I coming game 6? Like last night I found myself, I hate to say it, like almost rooting for my money, albeit against the Bruins. Get the fuck out. So I'm done.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, it's like like a whole summer camp payment on game 5 last night and not even a good price, just total idiotic stuff. We'll try to clean it up in game 6. The Panthers are just much better, honestly, Bri, than the Bruins, right?
Sure.
And Kenny, watching these games, it's just like, dude, like the Bruins have to be so fortunate to have a chance in these games. And I think they lose game 6 at home. If they go to a game 7, Panthers, Bruins, me and my daughter, Riley, will be mic'd up for NHL.com in Sunrise, Florida.
Let's go. That's dope. That's cool.
But the Panthers are going to take care of business in game 6. Hey.
No.
All right. Hey, Bri, we got a couple pronunciations for you.
Yeah, man.
One of them is a guy who started 5-0 in the UFC, used to be Adrian Yanez, and then re-recorded his file. Now, this is probably a repeat pronunciation as well. So I'd like to start there if I could, Bri. First name, Adrian. Bantamweight contender, no ranking anymore, but how we pronouncing his surname these days in 2024?
Sure, it's Adrian Yanez. I believe.
Look at this guy. Look, you're on fire. I mean, we might need to get a worse pronunciation guy for this segment because you're so fucking good now. Cody, what do you have for us on Adrian Yanez?
My name is Adrian Yanez. My name is Adrian Yanez.
Yeah, Petrie. I mean, hi, my name is. So then there's also a competitor in a featured bout in the welterweight division fighting Themba Garimbo. First name Ramiz, Fortis MMA. Bri, what do you have for us on his surname?
John, we are so succinct. Listen, I don't take notes, and I'm horrible at pronouncing names. Before I was even on this podcast, I wrote down phonetically how to say this guy's name because I butchered it so many times. I don't know why the J at the end throws me off. It makes my brain to mashed potato. So this guy's name is Ramiz Brahimai.
All right, let's hear him.
Ramiz Brahimai.
Taking a sip of his drink.
Bra.
Fucking nailed it. Look at this guy.
He might.
Look at this guy celebrating. Yeah, I mean, whichever syllable you want to emphasize, I don't really know. It sounds like, but yeah, you definitely are pronouncing that J. Look at, yeah, right, Jay Petrie celebrate like taking drink mid-file.
I love it.
What else do you have for me?
I love the confidence. You know, he's a humble man. He's dripping with confidence.
All right. Main event challenge, UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy. And then on the back end, we'll try to clean things up from your collective mess last week in a segment we call Place Your Bets. All right, first fight for us, it's strawweight. Number 12, Angela Hill, -135, taking on 9th-ranked Luana Pinheiro, who is +114. Buckets of respect for Angela Hill, KenFlo, right? How about this? December will be 10 years on the roster. 25th UFC appearance this weekend. Now she's 11-13 in the UFC, and her last 11 have gone the distance. If you want to knock her, but she has been on the wrong end of some close decisions. She has won 3 of 4. She's favored here against the 9th-ranked Luana Pinheiro, who is coming off her first UFC loss to Amanda Hebos last November. KenFlo, we will start with you here. Close fight on paper at strawweight. Angela Hill -135, Luana Pinheiro +114. What do you think?
And based on what I've seen from both ladies, I see it being a close fight. Period. Angela Hill, I think she's going to be the more technical striker. I think she will most likely throw more volume as well. I think Pinheiro is probably the more powerful striker. I think she might hit a little harder. I think she's going to be the better takedown artist out there, but Angela's really good at scrambling to her feet. I think Pinheiro sometimes suffer in regards to control when she does get top position. I think this is where it could be an opportunity for Hill to scramble repeatedly back to her feet throughout this fight, where she should have the advantage on the feet and where she could perhaps tire out the Brazilian Pinheiro. So yeah, this is a really close one. I wouldn't touch this one myself. I think this is kind of one of those, pretty sure bets that it goes to decision. But other than that, I really don't know much about who's going to win. I'm leaning towards Pinheiro. I think maybe her takedowns might be the difference in this one. But probably gave away whether I'm betting on this one or not, because I do think it's going to be a really close one. I think it's a good one for Hill. It's tough one. I like her experience in this one, but Pinheiro is one of the most impressive judo takedown artists in the game right now.
All fair. Not required to make a bet nor a prediction. Angela Hill -135, Luana Pinheiro +114. Main card opener Saturday at the Apex BP. Who do you have?
Yeah, I mean, Kenny just got out of the darkness retreat. I mean, this guy might be seeing stuff that I'm not seeing. And there's always a guy in the chat or the comments like, oh, they picked the same fights again. Well, guess what, bud? I'm going Angela Hill here, and I'm confident Angela Hill.
Nice.
Jim fucking Miller, I think it should be Angela
I agree,
Hill.
dude.
She is such a dog in there. She's gotten only better. I know she's a little bit older. We don't talk about women's ages, but she's getting a little bit older. But action-packed, good. Her takedown offense has come leap and bounds. Her submission game is working as well, because she used to get submitted back in the day. And no one out of the division is going to be stand with her in the clinch and beat her. Her elbows, her knees, everything is fluid. It's nice. Might not be the most powerful, but it's clean. She'll cut you up, and she has cardio for days, right? I love Angela Hill in this spot here. She's the better resume. Pinheiro, I think, got bodied up by Amanda Hebos. I thought she lost to Karate Hottie as well. Her record before that was a little weak. So give me Angela Hill, and a spoiler alert, Kenny's not betting this fight, but I'm gonna bet on Angela Hill when time comes. I'm glad we got some dissension there between me and Flo.
And what a great call by you, as appropriate, if not more so, right, Jay, than Jim fucking Miller, Angela motherfucking Hill.
Yeah,
all right. Studio is so locked in right now. Got a new fucking hard drive. Like, I'm not jinxing anything. Superstitions need not apply. Like, this upload's going to be complete as soon as we're off the air. Everything's fucking gravy.
I love
Next main card fight for us in the bantamweight division. What a huge spot here, fellas, for Adrian Yanez, -360, taking on Vinicius Salvador, +285. I'm curious about the booking here a little bit. We mentioned Yanez, the furious UFC star, 5-0, stopped, though, in his last 2 by Rob Font and Jonathan Martinez. Maybe a get-right spot here, Bri, against a former flyweight Salvador, moving up 0-2 in the UFC thus far. What do you make of Yanez here, perhaps prohibitively favored against Vinicius Salvador?
Yeah, you said it exactly right. This is a get right fight. Yanez is a guy that's marketable. He's a very exciting fighter. Got fluid, great, crisp boxing. You know, he got chopped down his last time out. It was tough, but he's rebounded well. He went down to the Grasso camp in Mexico. He's mixing it up with Diego Lopez, and they got some studs down there that are his weight. He's getting better. Salvador, you know, this guy looked great on the Contender Series against Shannon Ross, but Shannon Ross's 4 appearances in the UFC, he's been knocked down on all of them. Salvatore knocked him out. Besides that, he's dropped 0-2. Doesn't kick a lot. He likes to keep it range. He's kind of a longer guy, but coming from 125 to 135, fighting a guy like Yanez, who takes a little bit. He's a slow starter, but I think Yanez should be close to minus 600. So I'm all over this. I think Yanez is going to piece him up. I think, Johnny, you got a soundboard. So do I.
Send him home early.
I think we're sending him home early for Adrian Yanez. I love this spot for him. Get right spot. He's a good dude, and I think he's going to show out.
Kenny, feels like there will be thousands of parlays tied to Adrian Yanez this weekend on DraftKings Sportsbook. How do you handicap this one in the bantamweight division?
Okay, so maybe it's because I did so terribly on my picks last week, but I am a little nervous for this one. Why? Because I think Yanez has shown good offensive ability, but the last few fights, I think it has been kind of terrible defensively. And that's where I'm concerned, because Salvador is a guy that is kind of unorthodox, but if he lands his shots, it's usually when guys are coming forward, and he'll land awkward angles in tight. And I don't know, perhaps he'll have more power going up a weight class here. He's not going to be much shorter. I think he's the same height as Yanez here. So I don't know. I think this is just based on the odds. I think there's some value here on Salvador. I want to see on Yanez of when, like we saw him early on in his career, when he was in his prime, when he was moving his head, when he was moving his feet, but staying in the pocket like that and kind of going right into a wood chipper is not the approach against someone like Salvador. There's times where I feel like Yanez just completely ignores the offense of the other guy, and he takes a lot of shots because of it. Salvador can put him down. So Yanez, if he's defensively sound, if he's respecting his opponents, I think he should be able to go out there and get the win. But the odds, I think, are a little enticing, but I think Yanez should get the win here.
I think that's all fair. And when I say that he is perhaps prohibitively favored, I'm sort of leaning into a little bit of what Kenny is saying, that here's a guy who's lost a couple in a row. There are some red flags, say what you will, of the opposition also moving up in weight. But I don't know, man, minus 360. Yeah, he could be minus 600. He could starch this kid in 60 seconds, but not a fight that I would be in any great rush to bet on. And yet I think that a lot of people are going to be building parlays around Adrian Yanez this weekend. All right, Brian, we'll lead with you on this one. A featured bout that we mentioned at welterweight, Themba Gorimbo minus 135, Ramiz Brahimaj plus 114. So Gorimbo fighting out of South Africa by way of Zimbabwe. He has won 2 in a row. And now he draws Fortis MMA's Brahimaj. He hasn't fought since a submission win over Michael Gilmore. That was all the way back in February of 2022. Was going to face Michael Morales July of that year, had to withdraw. Then an injury took him out of a fight with Carlston Harris, February 2023. So, you know, I was at the Institute of Human Performance this week, and one of the trainers there is like max wager Brahimaj by submission. And I feel like developmentally he could be a completely different fighter here 2+ years later. Brian, what do you see here? Gorimbo slightly favored against Ramiz Brahimaj.
Yeah, Brahimaj is a guy who likes it ugly, right? He wants to clinch you. He wants to beat you up. I mean, this is a guy whose ear fucking exploded and didn't want to stop the fight. Like, he's a dog in there. Been a little bit, but he's got good chokes. His takedowns are just okay, in my opinion. Maybe they're getting better, but I think if he gets you to the ground, he's very good. I took a long look at this fight because I like Gorimbo. I like rooting for him. He's got a great story, coming off a good knockout, has some good experience behind the side. I think he's getting better. He has some power. Wrestling, obviously, a question. His debut, he got choked out by AJ Fletcher. You know, Brahimaj, obviously, that's what he wants to do. He wants to get a fight to the ground and submit you. That's his game, clinch you up, beat you up. And I love dancing with plus money. But I'm gonna pass. This is a fight that I'm a little uneasy on. I'm gonna go Gorimbo. It would be my official pick, but I don't know about loading up because I think there's too many question marks on both guys.
KenFlo, Gorimbo minus 135, Brahimaj plus 114. Any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, Brian, I'm with you on this one as well. Not feeling ultra confident with both of these guys here. And again, this is kind of your classic matchup here where you have the strength of Brahimaj, with his grappling background, looking to take down Cuervo, the far superior striker. So both these guys, I think, are weak in their opposite skill sets. Cuervo on the ground, that's where Brahimaj can really take advantage. I think that Ramiz is a definite grinder. I think he can pull it off. But there's times during the fight where he gets very sloppy on the feet. And Cuervo is pretty clean with his strikes. And having a 77-inch reach against the 72-inch reach of Ramiz, I think that's got a pretty hefty advantage. You know, being the taller guy at 6'1" to Ramiz's 5'10", I like that. And Ramiz is almost too tough for his own good sometimes. If he fights smart, if he fights conservative, if he sets up his takedowns properly with his striking without overextending himself, I like him here in this spot. But I think at some point he gets a little too reckless and Cuervo maybe catches him or maybe squeezes out a decision. So very interesting fight, but I'm leaning towards the taller, lankier fighter here.
Nicely done, gentlemen, on that one. Really well done. Good handicap. Thinking I might have to go live watch party this weekend just in case Angela Hill wins by knockout, so I can drop an Angela motherfucking Hill. All right, co-main event, boys. Really interesting fight here, in my opinion. We don't have the depth on this fight card necessarily that we had in St. Louis last week. That's why you guys are picking 5 fights instead of 8. But I like this co-main event, close on paper on the betting line. Chaos Williams -130, taking on Carlston Harris, who is +110. Harris out of Skeldon, Guyana. He is 36 years of age. What a start to his UFC career, Bri, though, in these 3 years, right? Overachieving maybe according to some, but 4-1 in the UFC, the only loss to one Shavkat Rakhmonov, and coming off a really impressive submission win over the fairly highly touted Jeremiah Wells. So now getting his first UFC co-main event. What do you think he does with it here against the pretty talented Chaos Williams?
Yeah, I love this fight. This is probably my favorite fight on the card. And Harris made me look like a fool in front of my wife, right? So, you know, I'm Mr. Big Shot. We're in Nashville watching the fights. Thank you for John for the tickets back in August. And Jeremiah Wells is dog walking Harris. And and Harris has this weird anaconda, but I thought Jeremiah Wells' arm was clear. And I look at my wife, and I had money on Wells. I'm like, this is over. He's fine. His arm's clear. And then he's sleeping. And Erica looks at me and goes, oh, I thought you fucking knew what you're talking about. So fully embarrassed me. But he is very good, right? He's a surprising good. You know, he ran into Rakhmonov, who I think is going to be future champion. Oh, fucking well. But he knocked out Impa. And we all know Impa's doing great things outside of there. Tremendous fighter. Maybe Impa was in the wrong weight class at the time. But, you know, this guy has some weapons. And you got Chaos Williams, who came in. He's a power puncher. His punches are a little unorthodox. I think they're a little pushy. They're not super flowy to me. He kind of throws a jab, leaves it out there a lot. His legs are to be kicked. We don't know his ground game. He hasn't really fought a grappler yet. His takedown defense is pretty good, but how many takedowns is he defending? Not a lot. So I see a path for victory here with Harris if he wants to get the fight to the ground. He's obviously got some good chokes. After he choked out Jeremiah Wells, which was a weird anaconda choke, he said, yeah, I hit that all the time in practice. I think that's where he's going to excel. I like Harris here at the plus money. I think this line's going to close quick. I think we're going to look at maybe an even pick'em come fight night.
Interesting.
So I'm gonna get on this early. I'm gonna get the plus money early when I can. So give me Harris.
I get it. Carlston Harris right now +110 on DraftKings Sportsbook. On the other side, KenFlo Chaos Williams has won 3 of 4. Looks good with his shirt off.
Yeah.
Hasn't fought, though, in a while. Competitive win over Rolando Bedoya. That was more than a year ago at UFC 288. I think Chaos at times has been deliberate with his career. What do you make of him here in a big co-main event against Carlston Harris?
Well, you know, I think I have a much different perspective on Chaos Williams than I did early on. And I think in a good way, because so many times, you know, we get excited about these quick knockouts and things like that, but we truly don't know too much about him. Now I feel like he has matured as a fighter, and I know a lot more about Chaos Williams. I think he has real experience now. I wanted to see what he was about besides those quick knockouts, and I think he's got heart. I think he works extremely hard. I think he has unusual power as well, although it is unorthodox, like Brian Petrie said. And for Carlston Harris, you know, I think that there are times where I don't know, he makes mistakes during fights. I do think he's going to be dangerous on the ground, though. If he's able to take this fight to the ground and nullify Williams's power and kind of be annoying in there, I think he can pose some problems. However, I like Williams in this spot. I actually like the fact that he's taking his time and making very deliberate decisions with the fights that he takes and when he takes them. And I think he's trying to set himself up to really kind of move up that welterweight ladder in an intelligent way. So, and he's got some good wins. Even that win against Bedoya is no joke, man.
No
he had
doubt.
a lot of skills out there. That's a very tough Peruvian fighter with a lot of tricky stuff on the feet, and Williams found a way to win there. I think that loss against Randy Brown, no shame in that one. That also could have gone the other way if he made some decisions, during that fight, some better decisions during that fight. So, yeah, and then he beat Miguel Baeza, who was pretty dangerous, who was looking hot when he came into the UFC. So I like Williams in this spot. I'm a little nervous after hearing what Brian Petrie had to say about Harris. However, I like Williams.
Nice.
All right, KenFlo might just have a wager on Chaos Williams in that co-main event. Place your bets coming up in a couple minutes. First, though, let us dive into the main event. And Kenny, we will go back to you to lead us off here. Featherweight division, Lerone Murphy -148, no ranking at present, taking on 12th ranked Edson Jr. Barboza, who is +124. So Murphy, an interesting case here, Kenny, still undefeated. A lot of his UFC schedule has taken place in Abu Dhabi, 5-0-1 in the UFC. Nice win over Josh Kulabau. That was all the way back in July of 2023. He has averaged 1.2 fights per year since his UFC debut at UFC 242 in 2019. So that's been part of the issue with the trajectory for Lerone Murphy. But a good chance to make a huge statement here against Edson Barboza. He's favored to get the win. Who do you have, KenFlo, in the main event?
This is a big fight. Two guys that are very fast twitch out there, very explosive, very fast, very dangerous. And I think it's really interesting. I don't think Murphy is getting enough credit because of that schedule. He's also fought a lot of guys that don't have the biggest names that are very good. Kulabau is one of those guys that you mentioned. And if you watch Kulabau fight, he is good everywhere, man. And if you fight someone like Kulabau, he is going to fight you, and he's going to fight every single thing you try to do to him, whether it's on the ground or on the feet. He's just annoying. He's an annoying prick, and he's a very good fighter, and Murphy has a win over him. And I think another guy that kind of had similar skills, who was very dangerous but didn't have a big name, was the guy before that, Gabriel Santos. So he fought him, and even let's go back all the way to Lerone's debut against Tukhugov. Is that?
Yeah, Zubair Tukhugov. Yep.
Tukhugov. Sorry. That dude's a problem.
Dude.
Everywhere. And that fight was an absolute war. So Murphy, I think, is coming in here very underrated. I think he's a guy that really could be elite in that division. He's going against a guy in Barboza with a ton of experience. You look at his last 4 or 5 fights. There has been some inconsistencies. I still think Barboza is very tough. I still think he's training very hard and has the passion for that game. However, I think his body is starting to give out just a little bit. His chin certainly isn't what it used to be. And I think if Murphy's able to catch him, I like his odds there. So I'm leaning towards Murphy. I'm curious to see how he does in this 5-rounder. I think it's very important that he gets off to a good start here against Barboza. But Barboza isn't going to hand him any rounds here either. Right. Murphy really is going to have to work in this one. And I think if he's able to do his homework on the feet, he maybe even integrate a few takedowns here and defend takedowns, especially against Barboza, because I think Barboza in a rare spot is actually the better grappler here on the ground. So, but I like Murphy here. I think just the timing is right. This is more intuition than anything else, because this is another close fight, one to call, but leaning towards Murphy.
All right, Brian Petrie, we will give you the last word on this. Edson Barboza, 29-time UFC veteran, so congratulations to him getting to that 30 mark. He also went 2-0 last year, not unlike Lerone Murphy, but he's the underdog this weekend. The American top team trained Edson Barboza. Or Lerone Murphy for you, Bri. Who do you like?
Yeah, what great matchmaking. Lerone Murphy kind of came out of nowhere. 8 fights, and he didn't come from Cage Fury, comes from England, takes the fight with Zoobs in Abu Dhabi. Fuck it, I'll take it. Split draw. I mean, what else do you want? He's been on a roll ever since. My problem with Murphy, and it's not really a problem, but when I cap him is I just want more volume. He's so technically sound. He's good. He's mixing things in really well. He's getting better on the job. He's growing up in the UFC, but I just want a little more. And hopefully this fight, it brings out the little more that I'm asking, because Edson Barboza is coming after you. This guy lands over 100 strikes a fight without blinking. 38 years old at 145 is a little scary to bet on for sure. But he's 2-0 and he's looked great his last two times out. Slept Billy Q, won a decision his last time out. This is a guy who struggles with grapplers. His takedown defense historically 75%. That's not that bad. He just has a problem getting up. I don't think Murphy's going to try to take him down. He might mix some things up to open up the striking. I look at Barboza's kicks in this to be the difference maker. Legs, body, head. It's going to remind me a little bit of the Dan Hooker fight. Was Dan Hooker ready for Barboza? I know that was many years ago, many moons ago, many Barbozas ago, but he pieced up Dan Hooker. This is a big test for Lerone Murphy. You can't even compare their schedules. You can't even compare their resumes because Barboza hasn't beat there. But Lerone Murphy is a skilled fighter. I see him being in the top 5 for much of his career after this. I just like the plus money on Barboza. I'm going experienced. I'm going with the guy that I think can squeak out a decision. I don't think a finish is going to happen. The over's to play in Barboza money line because we're dancing with plus money this weekend.
Oh, I love when you guys disagree on big fights. I love when you guys disagree on big fights. All right. Let me quickly update the standings from UFC Fight Night. Lewis versus Nascimento, if I could. I'll try to do this at like 1.25 speed. So Team Florian sent in his bets, perhaps wishes he had not. 3 bets, 0-3, straight wagers on Vyacheslav Barshov and Nursultan Ruzaboyev did not go your way. So you get back $1,000. You get back a dime. First losing week in a while, though, KenFlo. I think you had 5 straight winning weeks. Year to date, still in the plus, $560.96. Brian Petrie went 1-3 on his wagers. You did hit a $300 straight on Sean Woodson at -218. That paid you $137.61. I got your weekly total -562.39. Am I wrong?
I did have Lewis by KO as well. I don't know if you put that down. I didn't chase that number for you.
I remember that. Yep.
I did.
All right,
I
so I'll clean up my math on that one.
I had my negative 214.24 for the week is what I had.
All right, so things have tightened up considerably. So I didn't know what I had down there on Lewis. I couldn't read my handwriting. So we'll clean that up in post.
Okay.
As we come up on your predictions for UFC Fight Night, Barboza versus Murphy. Place your bets, brought to you by JonAnik.com, where you can get 20% off of your entire order right now. Jay, what's the promo code?
No promo code right now. No 20% off. Just buy a full price, everybody.
What?
You want a promo code? You got a promo code.
How about
you want a promo code?
Yeah, maybe Leon, or would you prefer Bilal as the promo code? No,
Leon.
JonAnik.com promo code UFC.
Promo code Apex. Is that the fight card we just talked about? Apex this weekend.
We can't use it.
Promo code Apex. 20% off. My wife's like, what? 20% off everything forever? I'm just kidding. Anyway, code Apex. I like it.
Oh, I can't be.
You tell me.
Anything but Apex.
All right.
So give me code Tommy Aspinall. No, I'm just kidding. That's too long. Promo code UFC 302.
Got it.
For 20% off your order at JonAnik.com. All right, Bri. Sorry about the math. I don't know what the fuck I was thinking. I knew I screwed it up.
You're a busy
God
guy.
damn it.
Thought of.
How are you spending your $1,000, Bri?
Listen, I know he's 0-2, but he's my guy. I'm going Yanez. I'm going 500 big fucking smacker on Yanez. Sorry, Kenny. I know you're. If I see a guy that I think should be higher, I'm gonna load up. Give me Angela motherfucking Hill for $200, and then Johnny. Let's dance with some plus money here. Let's go single wager Harris plus 110 at 150, and then let's go Barboza another 150, and that should be $1,000.
All right. So to make sure I have this correct, $500 on Adrian Yanez at -360, 200 straight on Angela Hill, $150 on Carlston Harris as a dog, $150 on Barboza as a dog.
Got it.
All right. KenFlo, KennyFlorianMartialArts.com. Lethal weapon, more lethal with every passing pistol revealing session. How are you spending your $1,000, KenFlo?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is going to be interesting, man. This is a pivotal week, but I'm taking some gambles here. I probably shouldn't be doing these things. All right, $100 on Yanez and Salvador to go for it to be done before 1.5 rounds.
Okay,
love it.
All right, $100 on that. I'm gonna go $100 on Salvador just for shits and giggles, just to see what happens.
Why would you not now? Why would you not now?
Sprinkle.
That's great.
Little sprinkle. I'm putting 500 on Williams, dude. Bring the chaos. Come on, chaos. Let's go. Let's go.
Energy.
And then I'm gonna put some money on Murphy. $300 on Murphy. So yeah, very interesting week, Brian.
It's going to be a huge
week. One of us is going to have a good week.
Yeah. We might even have to create a graphic because things have tightened up considerably and could do so even more after all the dissension this week. At Brian Petrie MMA, if you want to check out his MMA Takes podcast. Outstanding job today, Brian. Keep that hair short. Summertime. Erica likes the look. Keep that hair short. And I think the UFC actually has a week off, so we may not talk to you next Monday.
No problem.
We'll talk to you at some point in time.
Real quick before I go.
Please.
Jason Anik, your hair looks great. Sorry, Johnny. It looks great. Jay,
thanks, buddy. Great. Oh, and he gave me my own camera. So, MVP, I'll get your address. So you think I'm not going to steal that fucking Bengals helmet? But fuck my cousin.
It looks good in the studio. I swear. I love seeing the stripes on camera. I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah, I don't know what to say. It's coming your way.
Stealing shit. Hey, Bri, have a great day, buddy. Thanks for the time. We'll see you soon.
You're the best. I'll see you.
Brian Petrie with us for the main event challenge. Place your bets and the pronunciation of the week. We got to get on out of here. Thank you to our guest. What do you got, KenFlo? Oh, no, he's throwing a peace sign. I was like, what else you got, kid? Yeah, Kenny's got to go. His son, Archer, has been banging on the door for the last 90 minutes. Thank you to our guests, Raymond Peter Longo, the great Laura Sanko, Jason Anik joining us in studio, Big Gun Brian Petrie, and to our producer, really the straw that stirs this drink, the lifeblood of the program, who has taken this whole thing to the next level. Happy birthday. Happy 31. To the great Cody Merrow.
Happy birthday, Bone.
And to all the single ladies out there at Cody_Merrow, what exactly are we doing? Like, he's single. He's like 6'2.5", pretty good looking guy, pretty good career. Anyway, JonAnik.com, promo code UFC 302, KennyFlorian, if you just want to, elevate the entirety of your existence. For KenFlo, I'm Jon Anik. We'll talk to you next week. Until then, thanks for joining us live. Yo, fucking later.
Cornbread. He's cornbread. Like the mix in the bones, like the yeast in a roll. He's alive, he ain't dead.